Alright, video, yeah, second part of the Magic Sandwich Show post-show review, or whatever we'll call it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, well, we'll just get on with it, I suppose. It's just kind of discouraging. I figure I'll do these comments eventually. I'll just wait till they're all run their course and, you know, find out where the substance is, if there is any. But it's just going to be the same trolly stuff. I mean, you have a lot of this, you know, no icons, no videos, just shit talking. I mean, one guy's just outright lying about conversations I had. And just, you know, just disgusting. Commenters just suck. Sorry if that's what you do on YouTube, but yeah, I really hate commenters. Yeah, I do. Alright, let's go.
Was produced by this bloodbath of evolution.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't press the button.
You can't have both sides of the coin.
I can't undo the system. There's no undo button. I would press it if there was one. I would press it, but that's irrelevant to the conversation. I can still criticize the machine as inefficient. Okay, the fact that I didn't make the car doesn't mean that I can't say it doesn't get good enough gas mileage. I can still.
Well, in which case, why do you limit your criticism to merely evolution and not the universe?
Yeah. So why, you know, his expectation that my criticism is of evolution, and that's really not my criticism. My criticism is that our function isn't sufficient, that we haven't contrived an adequate purpose for our existence, and that we're doing it incredibly sloppy, and that's just the truth. You know, but of course my criticism would extend to the universe. It would extend to all ignorant, dumb, stupid forces that implicate, again, we're back to the precious commodity thing. I think I actually used that previous, right? I mean, precious commodities, you know, being controlled by crude forces. Crude forces in control of precious commodities. Yeah, I mean, if there's some sort of Nietzschean quote from inmendham, that's probably it. That's the problem here. Crude forces in control of precious commodities. That's the problem. We know how it became a problem is because evolution doesn't have a brain. It doesn't have ethics. It doesn't have understanding of what it's playing with. It's like a cat playing with a mouse. I've used that example before. Well, anyway. Whatever.
This seems like
to the universe, but we all know that there's not going to be some plug I can pull to unplug the universe. So again, it's irrelevant to talk about what I can't control. What I can control is my human behavior, my human psychology, my human communication with other people, and I will attempt to get them to understand that the real value here, if this was our experiment, we wouldn't be proud of it. Okay? Would you put ocean life on some foreign planet? Would you take the 4 billion years of life in the ocean and put it on another planet and call that a success? The bloodbath that's going on right now in the ocean, would you personally take responsibility for imposing 4 billion years, well, 500 million years, of sentient suffering on those creatures for the great, magnificent product of an octopus?
Yeah. I like the...
Anyway, as usual...
Oh, fuck. Somebody made a mistake. Somebody. Damn. Where was it? I have to find this.
The premise is that the value is created by the sentient creature. If I created one little fluffy rabbit, put it in a plastic...
Don't want to get too far ahead.
You're asking me if I think that evolution is a good thing?
I'm asking if you think it's efficient enough.
Yeah, there we go. And and the octopus thing is, I'll give them credit. They didn't just jump in and say, yes, I would go create the problem on another planet. So at least they didn't jump at the chance to say, yes, of course I would make more life, reckless and sloppy as possible. But, think about the octopus thing. The more you think about this stuff, I mean, that's the success story, right? I mean, it's sort of a little bit of intelligence. But the catch is, it has like 1,000 babies, right? And they're born fully octopied. It really is an incredible creature, right? I mean, you got to be smart enough to swim and then find food and do all these things that they do, and they got 8 arms, which is a lot of stuff to function with. But I'm just saying is that just think of the carnage of that means though. That 1,000 of them have to be produced, to get the 2 survivors. And that's what we call a success. I mean, if we had to have 1,000 babies, if 1,000 of our babies died, I mean, even if they were easier to produce, it would still be kind of depressing. I would imagine most people could understand how that might be. Oh, that sort of sucks. I don't think I really want to do that. Lay 1,000 eggs so 2 of them can survive to be able to say hi. No, I don't think so.
I think that evolution is an adequate description of reality.
I think evolution is an adequate description of reality. So that's how it responds to the question of our origin. We have a God, the Creator, is called a DNA molecule and natural selection. So the capacity to replicate and natural selection is our Creator. And the best he can do is, God is God. I mean, again, so why should anybody accept your criticisms of their God's imperfections? God's what we don't understand about God's secret knowledge. You find all this criticism for God's ethics, and yet you have no response to somebody that criticizes the ethics of a brainless molecule, the function of a crude force universe, and that maybe we ought to have to, because we've got the brain, we should have to take responsibility now for it. I mean, we are the smartest thing in the car now, okay? I mean, the first 4 billion years, the car's running with no driver, okay? But now we're in the car. We have a brain, and now we sort of have to take responsibility if the car runs shit over. It's sort of on us now. So this isn't like the kind of question where you just say, no, I was always in the back seat, and I'm staying in the back seat, and I'm never going to take charge, and I'm never going to take responsibility. Well, I call that pussy shit. Yeah, that's lame pussy shit. That's a bullshit excuse. Yeah. I mean, this is a rank thing, If there's nobody higher than you in the, war, then, you're the guy. Sergeant shit for brains. I mean, if maybe that's all there is, well, then you still got to take charge, fucker. You got the bigger brain, you got to take charge.
This is... Let's
go to concordance. Gary, 1 second. Let's go to concordance.
Can we disagree on one thing?
Sure.
That evolution has created value. Will you agree with that by creating sentient organisms?
I don't really understand what... Yeah, exactly.
Value to who? So again, these guys insist on having a witness. So even though, I theoretically could say that we're going to just put the ocean life on Mars and all the human beings get blown up the next day, or make some scenario, they would then say it's okay to do it because nobody will be witnessing it. No one will be witnessing the problem of all the animals getting slaughtered all over the place. So because there's no witnesses with intelligence enough to say, ooh, isn't that horrible? Therefore, it's not horrible. I mean, there's not much to say. They just don't get this thing. We're talking about the fact of what happens to sentience. Well, they don't get it. That's the simple thing to say. I could argue, I could explain, as I did in previous videos, that we are 2 things in this game. We're both a creator of value in that we are experiencing sensations and feelings in a welfare state, and we're a brain that can judge our existence and its efficiency, and including the whole game, and add up the values and say, well, I don't have a broken leg, but that guy does. And I can understand that if we come as a package, like if you can't have one without having the other, that the broken leg is part of the price paid for my existence, and I can understand that I have to account for that. I have to account for the fact that something had to pay a price for me to have a comfort. I mean, it's not that complicated, right? Whatever. Apparently it is.
So you don't understand
the moral dimension you're imposing on reality.
Yeah, moral dimension I'm imposing on reality. Yeah, I'm stating that sentient creatures having feelings creates value. I mean, I really didn't think that, I mean, you say it and you say, what? I have to argue this? I have to explain that feeling creatures having experiences creates value. If they have bad experiences, it's a bad thing. If they have good experiences, that's a good thing. And that somehow when you interact with this world, you have to try to maximize how many things are not feeling bad and how many things are not feeling bad. That's really all you have to do because, like I said, one takes care of the other. Some asshole in the comments said something about how neuroscience has proven me wrong, that we don't feel good when we don't feel bad. That's not true. It's not true that if you don't have a broken leg, you feel good, and if you do have a broken leg, you don't feel good. I think it's true.
I'm opposing a judgment. Yes, that's what my brain can do. You're stuck with this. You should understand what efficiency is and that you measure the thing you're consuming versus the thing you're producing. What we're producing is gratified, happy humans, and what we're consuming is sentient suffering.
There, that seemed pretty simple, right? Yeah, can everybody agree on that, please? No? That people can't agree with that? No? It's in the moral dimension? No, come on.
That's the equation I'm saying to you. I'm saying the value is created by these things. I'm giving you a premise. Now, you obviously don't accept the premise. The premise is that the value is created by the sentient creature. If I created one little fluffy rabbit, put it in a plastic bubble, and shoved it in space, and that was the only thing in all of the universe that was alive and sentient,
this is good.
Would you not concede that that rabbit's welfare has value? That it would matter whether it was suffering or not suffering? That those two states there would be a preferable state and a dispreferable state.
To who?
There we go. To who again? Man, oh man, oh man. So as long as there's no witnesses. So look, you want to rape a woman? Yeah. Rape her and kill her. Okay? So there's no and have no witnesses. And then you haven't done anything wrong. It's perfectly okay. It's a zero crime. Yeah, I mean, again, social contract shit. Well, who cares about social contracts? I mean, what kind of paper are they written on, right? So there's no absolute fact that you did anything wrong. There's no absolute fact that harm was caused or any of that shit because there's no witnesses. No witness to say that's not right. So because no one said it's not right, it means it's right. If no one says it's not right, it means it's right. That's what these guys are telling me. Somebody has to say the words, that's not right, or it's perfectly fine. I mean, this idea that somehow it has to be written somewhere, like it has to be on a sign somewhere. It says stop, go, yield, that somehow you don't need to yield unless there's a yield sign. I don't even know how to analogize this. The yielding is still an important thing. I mean, if the sign falls down, yielding is still a function. It still needs to get done. It just doesn't need a sign saying it. We don't need a witness to validate the existence of a crime. The crime in and of itself has crime properties. It just oozes its properties. And when a creature is in distress, it's oozing distress. It doesn't need somebody to hear the distress and go, oh, I hear a tree falling in the forest. No, that doesn't need to happen. Yeah, whatever. Crazy fucks.
To the rabbit?
Rabbit is a sensitive thing. Would the rabbit matter?
Yes, the rabbit would be happier if the rabbit was happy.
I'm not talking about what the rabbit would be. I'm saying, does it have value? Would its welfare matter?
Value to who? Value.
Value to who? Again, it doesn't. So these guys just keep assuming that everything that feels can think, and then make a judgment about what they're feeling. No, they can't. They can feel lousy without having understanding about lousy and planets and Earth and judgments and all that kind of crap. They just feel lousy. And when they feel lousy, that's bad. And it would be good if they didn't feel lousy. I mean, this just isn't that complicated. Oh, fuck.
It is a subjective concept. It needs a perceiver.
Yeah, it needs a receiver. No, a perceiver. Perceiver, that's what he said. It needs a perceiver. I mean, look, you saw the premise was simple, right? The premise is just this simple thing, that there's no value in the universe till you put a sentient in it. Without a sentient thing that can be harmed, that can go ouch, ouch, or ooh, ooh, the universe wouldn't matter. You could crash things into each other, you could turn them upside down, you could pull out everything's guts, you could do whatever you want. You could stab the universe 1,000,000 times. It just wouldn't matter if it can't suffer. It just doesn't matter if it can't be hurt. They can't experience hurt, then it can't matter. It's impossible to matter. It has to in some way implicate a feeling thing before anything can mean something in the value dimension. But that value does exist. It does matter whether things are suffering or not suffering. I don't know. What's the point, right? I mean, this is just, you're saying, no, people can't be this dumb. They just can't. It's just impossible. How do you do this to your brains? How the fuck do you twist your fucking brains into such nonsense that you deny your own personal experience?
Valuer.
I mean, come on.
It needs a valuer. So, yes, to the rabbit, subjectively, happiness...
The witness.
Subjectively, again, so he's even turning the rabbit into some kind of subjectivist, where the rabbit has to somehow sit around and say, how do I feel about feeling lousy? Do I think feeling lousy sucks? I don't know. Do I? I mean, no. No. Come on.
It's like saying rape needs a witness or it doesn't take place. It doesn't need a witness. The rabbit itself is sentient. If a meteor is heading for the rabbit and you are an IBM computer that can stop the meteor from hitting the rabbit and causing it to have gross and horrible suffering, would you, as an IBM computer programmed with just basic knowledge of the fact that it's sentient and the fact that sentient suffering is no good, would you, as the IBM computer, say, yes, let's divert the meteor?
If that's the moral judgment you want to make. That's the moral judgment.
Shit. I mean, what an evasion. If that's the moral judgment you want to make. I mean, I'm asking him a direct question. He's talking about the moral judgment I'm making. I'm saying to him, he's an IBM computer. He can divert the meteor without any trouble. He just, throws a few bits over there and bip, 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 meteor diverted. And he can't figure out that it would be a good idea to divert the meteor. That, yes, that's what I would do. I would divert the meteor. It seems perfectly logical that it's preferable not to have the rabbit in the harmed state. I mean, this, you're just saying, I might as well talk to a fucking real dinosaur. I might as well go dig up a dinosaur fossil and try to talk to it, right? I mean, fuck. Apparently these people never have had any sensations. I apparently do have a special consciousness that makes me really conscious, and all you people have no fucking clue what consciousness is. Because I sure as fuck know there's a huge difference between no toothpick in my eye and toothpick in my eye. I can't tell you how big the difference is. I mean, the difference is so fucking huge. It's like the hugest difference. Well, I mean, there are huger differences, but I mean, it's like really a huge, really, really huge difference. Fuck.
Okay,
where do you think this comes from? You think that's good thing?
Yeah, it comes from the simple acknowledgement that fucking sentient organisms can be in two states, good or bad. Fuck. Where does it come from? The fucking acknowledgement of what the fuck is going on this planet, you lunatics.
Have conversation
out
about
there?
as if it has a quanta. I'm arguing.
Gary, I really think you should let Concordance answer.
Why? He doesn't answer. He answers everything with some kind of insane question. Well, if that's what you morally think ought to be applied in this circumstance, what the fuck is that?
Well, he did answer. He said I'm
you
making
keep shouting me down here.
Yeah, well, I don't know how I'm shouting anybody down when I hear the volume differences in this room, so that's kind of a joke.
Okay, let me see if I can take some. Good job. We're going to go to Concordance and we'll come back to you, Gary. But let Concordance finish what he's saying and then I'll come back to you.
Look, you're imposing on the facts a judgment. Yes, we've agreed to that. Yes, Gary? We've agreed that you're imposing a judgment, what you consider to be moral.
Yeah, okay, so, you know what? I mean, there's times where you just say, okay, this guy's a nice enough guy and blah, 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 blah. But no, what a fucking pussy shit this is. You're imposing a judgment. That's right. That's what we do all the fucking time when somebody's violating something else and harming it, you jackass. That's right. When we say somebody can't fucking molest or rape a fucking 13-year-old girl, yeah, we're making a goddamn judgment, shithead. It's not that fucking complicated. And you're trying to turn it into some sort of subjective crap is just absolute nonsense. All right? I don't care because I personally have a horniness for something, or I think it's preposterously cute, or it's this or it's this. There's no fucking subjective interest here. I just absolutely know that the thing is going to go through suffering, and I think suffering sucks. Are you going to call the fact that I think suffering sucks something other than a logical conclusion? I mean, this is such slimy bullshit to turn everything into some subjective, oh, if you're not horny for justice, then you can't be a just thinking person. If you're not horny for fairness, then you can't possibly understand the concept of fairness. Of course we can understand the fucking concept. And I can understand the concept of somebody else being harmed for no good fucking reason. And I can say that's fucking idiotic. You fuck.
You consider the moral standard to be that more consciousness exists, or that consciousness exists, and that's the quantity that we should value.
There. Does that have anything to do with anything I've said? More consciousness should exist? No, that's not what I've said. It's not even close to what I've said. It's exactly the opposite of what I've goddamn said. So you can't even accurately paraphrase me. What I say is that you shouldn't waste suffering. How many times I use the word waste and suffering? And this asshole can't even paraphrase that correctly. That somehow I have... Look, play it again. I mean, I was just so fucking distant from anything I've advocated or said. I mean, it was just an idiotically, preposterously stupid goddamn paraphrase.
If that's the moral judgment you want to make, that's the moral judgment you decided to make.
Okay,
where do you think this comes from? You think that goodness floating out there?
As if it's...
Yeah, see, he just, where do I think it comes from, right? And I already just did this explanation that I'm saying that when a sentient exists, it creates value by having a welfare state. Now, either say I can understand that and agree with that, or say no, I don't think sentient beings create value. I don't think they can, how they feel matters. Or say you do, but you can't sit there and just play this asshole game. I just personally do it. No, I don't just personally do it. I think it's an absolute truth, a fundamental fact underlying our existence. Shit.
As a quanta. I'm arguing...
Gary, I really think you should let Concordance answer.
Well, he did answer. He said I'm
you
making
keep shouting me down here.
Okay, let me see if I can take some. Good job. We're going to go to Concordance and we'll come back to you, Gary. But let Concordance finish what he's saying and then I'll come back to you.
Yeah, well, we're going to see him say the same thing all over again. It was horrible the first time, but let's do it a second time.
Look, you're imposing on the facts a judgment. Yes, we've agreed to that. Yes?
I'm saying there's a fact that sentient creatures feel, and it's a substantial fact. What they do when they are conscious and alive is substantially different than what they're doing when they're unconscious and dead. Substantially different. Meaningfully different.
Harry, We've agreed that you're imposing a judgment, what you consider to be moral. You consider.
No, I proposed a theory of value that you fucking apparently just can't hear. It's a theory of value. That the universe has no value in it until a harmable exists. Agree or disagree. And if you disagree, I think you're preposterously stupid. Yeah, that's my only conclusion.
Consider the moral standard to be that more consciousness exists, or that consciousness exists, and that's the quantity that we should value.
There we go. That consciousness should exist, that consciousness should be the quantity that we value. Quantity. He said the word quantity twice, implying that I somehow have a horniness for consciousness. No, I have a horniness, I have an awareness of suffering. The gasoline you're pouring in zillions of gallons of it into this fucking tricycle, this fucking piece of shit you're driving. And how it's a huge squanderous waste when there's, so much more that can be done with that fuel being wasted.
Right, but there's no objective reason to value that except.
Okay, there's no objective in this context would mean there's no logical reason. So there's no reason when you stand above the mechanism that is the living sentient form and you watch them interact. There's no logical reason when viewing the sentient organisms interacting to think that it matters at all that little guy just got ripped to shit by that fucking alligator and had its skin ripped off and then its legs broken and it was finally suffocated to death. It just doesn't mean anything. That's the logical conclusion, is to look at it and just say that didn't mean anything. Even though I personally know I would pay $1 million or $1 billion to avoid that, even though I'm completely scared to death to have that happen to me, I should ignore my screaming body telling me that I know that's not a good thing, and I should pretend that logically the right thing to say is, that doesn't matter. That's as irrelevant as a rock falling down a hill. It's any other mechanical process taking place. It has no significance whatsoever. Just move along, nothing happening here. Ignore the screams and the blood spurts. They all don't mean a damn thing. They're just rocks rolling down a hill. They're just water flowing down a stream. They have no significance whatsoever. That's the objective, logical, rational interpretation of what's happening on planet Earth. And these people are called scientists. This is what scientists think makes the world go round. This is what they think is happening on planet Earth. That little animals having their skins ripped off and then their bones broken and then suffocated to death doesn't mean anything more than this piece of paper falling to the ground. Science. Not too smart.
That we ourselves possess this sort of sentience. But I place a lower value on the sentience of a worm.
Well, we weren't talking about worms. We had a little bunny rabbit inside of a plastic bulb. That's where we were last. But, I mean, we could put a human child inside there just as easily. I mean, but isn't this the dodge, though? Isn't this just demonstrate the dodge he's pulling here? Because he's acknowledging, oh, yeah, well, I really can't keep making this nonsense argument when it comes to mammals. So now I'll go all the way back to earthworms to defend the fact that every day I'm sewing fucking ears on rats' asses. Fuck.
Or a bug, or an ant, or going.
Well, a bug and an ant are technically the same thing, but it doesn't really matter. So you know what insects feel. You're that confident. You're sure that you know that their wiring just doesn't produce any kind of sensation problem. And you're a scientist, right? are humble, like Thunderfoot, a humble scientist, acknowledging your ignorance. Right? We're supposed to be so wary of making any statements and drawing any conclusions because there's so much evidence out there to be revealed. But you're confident that, yeah, the insect who's been around for hundreds of millions of years being perfected, the dragonfly, he can fly, he can articulate, he can catch fish when he's in his nursery school form. But yeah, it doesn't feel anything significant. You know it. Scientist. Hypocrite much? Hypocrite much? Hypocrite much?
The order, I care less about how much pain a mouse feels than I do a child. And that's my own decision to make.
It's your own decision to make. Now, so we shouldn't apply some sort of standard, some sort of scientifically rational standard to those determinations. So if I believe in God, and God says so, and God said you may bash the great apes in the head and eat their brain, or whatever the thing would be, or even the heathens, you could eat them. And so you kill them slowly, drain their blood out, the whole ritualistic crap in the Bible. So you should torture the semi-human, Cro-Magnon man, because he wasn't invented by God, or whatever the thing would be, right? And so because I have a God faith, that's perfectly reasonable now. I can torture an animal because that's a reasonable interpretation, because you just make up your interpretation. It doesn't have to cohere to any kind of scientific or rational perspective at all. So you can just discount, you can just claim that a mouse's sentience is less, and you just say so. You don't have to rationally back that up with some sort of rational argument or some sort of scientific evidence demonstrating how, yes, the fully matured mouse is somehow less conscious than the child. You said child. Well, I don't know how old you're talking about, but guess what? Before 2 years old, their consciousness is the one that's in doubt. So what's your reason? I don't think your reason has a damn thing to do with science or rationality or facts. I think it has everything to do with just some subjective crap that you've imposed on it. That's what you've done. And to advocate that this isn't a scientific question would be hilarious, in my opinion, because it certainly is a scientific question whether or not what exactly these different organisms are consciously feeling seems like legitimate scientific investigation. But no, you said scientific investigation is irrelevant. Scientific facts gleaned would be irrelevant. The only thing that matters is your subjective, nonsensical opining based on no criteria of rational, fact-based logic.
And we can debate whether or not.
How about a human?
Right, back to you, Gary.
Does a fully matured mouse have less sentience than a human fetus? So you would treat a mouse better than you would treat a fucking
but the thing is that on the developmental trajectories, Gary,
I'm going to
developmental trajectories. Did you hear that? He was going to use the Christian argument. Well, human babies grow into humans, though, so that matters, because it's going to be a human when it grows up. So it's going to make the religious frickin' argument from fetuses are people, they just aren't people yet argument. So why don't you go all the way back to the sperm? Sperms are much cooler than fucking parameciums because sperms will be human beings someday. Ugh, pathetic.
Insist that I control this because otherwise we're going to end up with people talking over each other. Gary, had you finished that point?
Well, I just wanted to get back to his original premise. I'm theorizing. I'm giving you a theory of value. I'm not just making a judgment out of nothing. I'm saying to you there's a quantum here. The quantum is the sentient existence creates value, that you could not possibly have value in the universe if there wasn't the welfare of a sentient creature involved. If you don't have something on the track, it doesn't matter where the trolley goes. It only matters where the trolley goes because there's a sentience implicated.
You can see D.P.R. Jones is getting this. You can see he's getting it. He's getting that it doesn't matter unless there is sentience in the universe. He's ready to concede the point. But these other two fucks.
Welfare of feeling creatures has to be implicated. And it's more about the families of the 5 people than it is the 5 people, right? Because the 5 people are going to die really quickly. So, you could almost argue that the equation is about how many people love those 5 people versus one person. Because it's the welfare of the families that is going to be more important than the welfare of the people who are going to die really quickly. So,
Gary, can I, before we go back, can I just ask a question? You talk about sentience. Do you think there are degrees of sentience? Are we more sentient than what we would describe as lower life forms?
Yeah, well, it gets really complicated because we have different brains, right? And insects and us divided a long time ago. We both came from some sentient creature before that, okay? And what I'm saying is we don't know what insects feel. That's the problem. And I'm saying to you that even other mammals, they could be experiencing a much more sensual experience than us. So their pains and pleasures could be extremely more loud because we are using a lot of our brain sources.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know I speechified on this section, but yeah, that's pretty good stuff.
Resources to do all of this thinking, calculating, and modeling, and all this other stuff. So our senses might be incredibly dull compared to their.
So, I mean, let me. You mentioned the trolley problem. Let me go back to that then. I mean, what would you do if you were in control of the switch and one line would kill one man and the other line would kill a rabbit? Do you consider that this...
A rabbit. So he threw my rabbit on the tracks. I would have wished he'd just get my rabbit in space and give me that answer, but whatever.
You can make that decision?
I believe there's an outcome. Okay, that's a better outcome and a worse outcome. Okay, I believe there's an absolute fact of value in the end. There was a right choice and a wrong choice. Okay, so I believe in that. What I'm going to argue is that it's really hard to figure out the probability. Because, yes, of the 5 people you save, one of them could be a serial killer, one of them could be a child molester, one of them could have been a lot of things that ruined the whole deal, right? That just spoiled itself.
That's one of the variants you can add, yeah.
Right? What if Adolf Hitler, right? I saved Adolf Hitler. Fuck, what an asshole I was. The point, I can't make the judgment because I can't see the end result. But I am saying that I believe there's absolute fact about what was the right choice. And we can only do our best to try to figure that out in some utilitarian way based on probability. So we know that probabilistically it's not a good thing to drink and drive, right? You know that probably...
Yeah, I just thinking, this does sort of look like a robe, I guess. But, I mean, this was a sweatshirt I was wearing, and some cunt in the comments made some kind of crack about wearing a robe, and that sort of pissed me off. But, yeah, I'm wearing it's a fucking hoodie. It's not unlike this. Asshole.
He's not going to have a good outcome. But once in a while, you will run over Jeffrey Dahmer when you're drunk. Right? It does work out okay.
Well, with that thought in mind, Gary, can I thank you very much indeed for the call. It's always an interesting experience having a chat with you. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to move